Okay, I think we can begin the session. We are live on Facebook. Hi, everyone. Welcome to our session. Good evening. Thank you so much for joining us. First, let me introduce myself. My name is Marwa Shille, and I am the Education USA Advising Assistant based at the Ahmed East office in Ramallah, Al Bira. Today is our fourth day of International Education Week. IEW is an opportunity to celebrate the benefits of international education worldwide. We had several sessions this past several days where we shared information about studying in the US and opportunities for high school students, university students, and professionals to participate and learn more about exchange programs that are supported by the US Department of State. And today is actually, this is our eighth session. And for today, we're going to discuss the student visa application process with Josh Awuda. He is a counselor officer at the US Embassy in Jerusalem. But before we hand it over to Josh, first, the Senior Education USA Advisor based at the Ahmed East office in Ramallah, Sana Tayyam, she will briefly talk to you about Education USA. Sana?
Yes, thank you, Marwa. And thank you everyone for joining us today. And we'd like to provide you with some background about Education USA before we start our session with Joshua. Education USA is a US Department of State network of over 430 international student advising centers in 178 countries and territories. The mission is of Education USA Advising Centers is to promote US higher education around the world by offering free, accurate, comprehensive, and current information about educational institutions in the United States. Next slide, please. Of course, our services, we are based out of Ahmed East, Ramallah for the West Bank, and our colleagues in Gaza are also based out of Ahmed East in Gaza. So we have two advising centers in the West Bank and Gaza. And our services are varied, and they include outreach sessions. They include group in-center advising sessions for the public and for individuals who are looking for more centered consultations based on what they're looking for in a U.S. higher education experience. And so we provide sessions and outreach activities for large groups and for individuals alike. And since obviously March 23rd, we've gone 100% virtual. But before that, obviously, we did have many activities throughout many of our cities, at high schools, universities, clubs, and organizations, as well as receiving and facilitating visits by U.S. higher education representatives, whether they're individuals coming to our region to share information about U.S. higher education, or and to also provide information about their respective universities. We've also facilitated college fairs for much larger groups. And we hope to resume such activities in the near future once we are able to do so, and it is also safe to do so. And so between our events, of course, this is the one of the events that we've previously organized throughout the Palestinian cities. This year is special and unique in that we are offering all of our International Education Week activities virtually. Next slide, please. And before we ask Joshua to share information about the understanding the visa application process, I just want to share with you this web page, educationusa.state.gov. It is really a page that provides varied information about U.S. higher education, about the application process, whether you're interested in undergraduate study, graduate study, short-term programs, English language programs, information that is provided through your 5 steps. The first step is researching your options. The second step is financing your education. The third step is the application process and learning more about how you provide the information through either individual applications to the universities or through a system provided for you to streamline the process, such as the online common application, Naviance, or the universal application. And so today, we're going to focus on the fourth step, which is applying for your student visa. And now I would like to give the floor to Joshua. I would like to thank you again, Joshua, for agreeing to our invitation and sharing your information to our audience. Joshua?
Well, thank you very much, Marwa and Sana. And thank you to everyone for joining us today. So again, my name is Josh Woda. I am one of the consular or visa officers here at the US Embassy in Jerusalem. This is my second assignment as a consular officer. I previously served in Honduras, where I also did visa and passport work. And I have been here in Jerusalem for about 2 years. I'm here with my wife, who works in our economic section. And we'll be leaving Jerusalem next year to go to our next assignment, which will be in Sao Paulo, Brazil. So we're very sad to be leaving Jerusalem, but also excited about our next opportunity in Brazil. So our job as consular officers is to assist US citizens abroad, to help facilitate legitimate travel to the United States for students and for tourism, and basically to stop people seeking to engage in harmful activities from coming to our country. So we're working around the globe basically to find the right balance between our two goals of securing borders and keeping an open door to the rest of the world, and particularly for students. So even though security is a major part of our visa policy and our process, we're also conscious of the need to assist legitimate travelers. And that is the overwhelming majority of our visa applicants. And we want them to receive fast and clear decisions regarding their applications so that they can plan their travel to the United States. And for our students listening today, I just want people to understand that our visa process is pretty simple and the embassy is always here to help. The most important thing for you guys to focus on is finding the right school for you and the right program. And then your university and the embassy will help you through the visa process. So this is our agenda for the day. At the end of the presentation, we'll definitely have time for a few questions. If people want to stop me to ask questions as well, that's perfectly fine. I just do want to say that I can't speak to any specific visa cases, but I'm happy to answer general questions. And Marwa, if you could please go to the next slide. And so these are the three main types of student visas that we offer. And so what's the difference between them? A J visa that you see there in the middle, that's a visa for a very specific program, usually for a short period of time. It's generally for a graduate study program or for someone who is involved in an official US government exchange program, like the Fulbright Scholars Program. But most students apply for F visas. If you're going for your bachelor's degree or a master's degree in the US, you have a scholarship or your family is paying, you will probably be applying for an F visa. So you don't really need to worry too much about applying for the wrong visa. Your school will actually tell you which category to apply for. And if you make a mistake, the embassy can always help you fix that. But what is important to remember is that if you're planning on studying in the United States, you do need a student visa. You cannot use your regular tourist visa to attend a university in the US. And next slide, please, Marwa. So this is the process for applying for a student visa. You can always go to our websites, travel.state.gov, or to the embassy's website for the most up-to-date information, but this we have here is correct. The forms that you see there, the I-20 form and the DS 2019 form, your school will actually provide those documents to you, so you don't need to worry too much about that. And when you have those ready from your university, you can go ahead and go to our website and make an appointment for a visa interview. Our website is in English, Arabic, and Hebrew. Any issue you have, you can always email us as well. In addition to making an appointment, you must also fill out your visa application. That is the form DS-160, and pay all of the fees for the visa and the student in exchange visitor fee. Sometimes there's no fee involved. For example, if you're a Fulbright scholar, but regular students will need to pay the visa fee and this SEVIS fee that you see there. And then the final step is to come to your interview at the embassy. Our staff speaks Arabic, Russian, Spanish, Hebrew, Mandarin, Chinese, so you can do the interview in Arabic if you want. Usually when I start an interview, I ask the person whether they want to speak English or Arabic, and I'll just do whatever they ask me to do. So you can apply for the visa at any time, and you can receive your visa up to 120 days before the program starts. And then you can actually travel to the United States 30 days before the program begins. So we definitely encourage everyone to please apply early so you have a bit of extra time to make your travel arrangements. I do want to say that there is a lot of bad information on the internet about our visa process. So definitely encourage everyone to go to our website for more information, or to go to trusted sources like Education USA for more information on the visa process. And then next slide, please, Mara. So I think this is the main thing that everyone is concerned about is the visa interview. So what are we looking for in our visa interview? What will I ask about if you come in for an interview at the embassy? And there are four main things. The first and most important is just who you are. What is your story? Where is your family? What have you studied before? What are you doing now? Are you working? Are you in high school, university? And we really want to know the answer to those questions to understand your personal situation. We'll definitely also ask, what you want to study in the United States and why you want to study in the US. Why did you pick this university or this program? How will this help you with your academic or professional goals? And then finally, we do ask, how are you going to pay for this? You do need to show that you can pay for at least 1 year of the program, the first year. And if you have a scholarship, if you've received a scholarship, fantastic, that is done. You've shown us that you can pay for it. Otherwise, people typically show that their family has the resources, the money to pay the tuition fees. Finally, we'll want to know what you intend to do when you've completed your studies. What's next for you? Are you going to go for another degree? Are you going to go home and start working? We'll always ask you what you intend to do after you've completed your university program. So in my experience, having done thousands of student visa interviews now, when students can answer these four questions clearly, they are successful. When a student cannot explain why they picked a certain program, how it is relevant to them, then they will have more problems in the interview. So when I have a student who is currently in high school and they've been accepted to a 4-year BA program at a university, or a college student that has been accepted to a master's program, that is pretty easy. They have an easy time answering those four questions, and it makes sense that they will continue their studies in the United States. But if you've been out of school for several years, you should be prepared to explain why you're going back to study now and why in the United States. And I think we can move on to the next slide, Mara. So this again is our procedure for how to apply for the visa. The forms that you see at the top of the list, again, the university will provide those to you, so you don't need to worry about that. For passports, you can use whatever passport you have, Palestinian passport, Jordanian passport, Israeli passport, or laissez-passer document. If you have 2 passports, which a lot of people do, we ask you to choose one and present that to us. And we also want to make sure that you have at least 6 months of validity left on your passport. You cannot use a passport that expires in one or 2 months. If you bring a passport like that to your interview, we will tell you to go home and get a new passport and come back to us when you have a new one. Of course, you do need to bring a picture for the visa, and we do have information about pictures on our website. You will have to pay the fees and bring the receipts to your interview. So these things that we have listed here, these are the only required documents. You can feel free to bring whatever you think is relevant. Some people will bring bank statements from their parents, maybe a letter from their mother or father's employer stating their salary, or a statement from the university, a letter from the university stating that the person has been admitted. If you have a scholarship document, that would be important to bring as well. But I will say that we as officers, we do not like to look at a lot of documents. And this is true for students, student visa interviews and regular tourist visa interviews. We actually much prefer just to have a conversation, to talk to the person, to ask questions, instead of looking at documents. And then we can move on, Mara, please. So another thing a lot of people are concerned about is being refused at the interview. So we always hope to say yes and to approve the visa, but sometimes we do have to say no. And the most common reason that we say no or deny a visa is what you see at the top there, section 214B of our immigration law. If we have refused a visa on this basis, it is because the student did not prove that they actually intended to study in the United States, or that they didn't prove that they would leave the US after they completed the program. So we do actually see people that have received student visas but have never enrolled in their academic program or dropped out of the program immediately after entering the US. And it turns out that they just wanted the student visa in order to travel to the US and look for work or do whatever they wanted to do. And this is because there is an idea out there that it is easier to get a student visa than a regular tourist visa. This actually is not true. We do, though, see a lot of people that apply for student visas, but they're not actually students. They don't intend to study in the United States, and those applicants may be refused. So this is why it's so important to be able to answer the 4 questions that we talked about earlier. Why do you want to study in the United States, and why did you choose this program? So if you are refused a visa, you can 100% apply again. You can definitely apply again. And sometimes a student is able to receive an approval on a new application. And this can be because the situation has changed a little bit, or because the student was better able to express themselves to the consular officer. And we understand that sometimes people are nervous the first time they have to come in and do a visa interview with us. But again, if you are really a student, if you can answer the questions that we talked about earlier, there's really no need to be nervous. The 2 other common reasons that a visa may be refused. The first would be section 221G that you see in the middle. And this is not a final refusal. It just means that something is missing from the application. Maybe we need another document from you, or we just need more time to review your application. So we will always give you a letter explaining what is missing and what information that we need from you. Here, some of you may have heard the term administrative processing. We say ijraat idariye. And if we say this, it is because the application needs further review. So this can include a whole range of things, but it basically means that we at the embassy have more work to do before we can issue the visa. So every situation is different. Every person is different. We will do our best to tell you what to expect and how long you have to wait. The final reason for refusal at the bottom, 212A. This basically means if you're refused under this section that you have done something bad, either at home or in the United States. Maybe you've been convicted of a crime or have had a problem with an earlier visa that you received. So it's really important that people are completely honest and tell the truth. There are some situations, and we'll be able to work with the person and find a solution, but you do always need to be upfront and honest with us. If someone lies, they end up getting in much bigger trouble. And I will say just that we are pretty smart. We know a lot. Lying usually doesn't really work. So if you are refused, you'll receive a document explaining why, under what section of the law. And again, it depends on the situation, how much information we'll be able to give you. But please know that visa records are 100% confidential and private. We do not share any of that information with your school or anyone else for that matter. So I think we can move on, Marwa. So just getting to some of the questions that we frequently receive. The first is whether it's a good idea to have someone help you prepare the application. And the answer to this is always no. The school will help you with the application, and we at the embassy will help you with the application if you have a question. But there is no person, no office, no agent who has any type of special relationship with the US government or our embassy here in Jerusalem. So I'm confident that if you are admitted to a university in the United States, you'll be well prepared to actually fill out your application yourself and to make an appointment. You really do not need help. Another common question is when exactly you can get your visa. And I think I stated this before, but you can receive the visa 120 days before your program begins, so about 4 months. And then you can travel to the United States 30 days before the program begins. So we definitely want people to apply early. And that gives you some extra time to make your plans and to submit any document that might be missing during your initial interview. After your program ends, you will then have 30 days to leave the US and go home. So you have 30 days if you want to do some extra traveling after you've completed your studies. We're also frequently asked if you need a certain amount of money, if you need to be rich to obtain a student visa. And the answer to that is definitely no. You do need to show again that you can pay for the first year of your program. So if you have a scholarship, that is great. We'd like to see that. Having a scholarship shows that you're a serious student. But if your family has the money to pay for your tuition, that is also great and totally fine. Another kind of myth or common question we see is that international students are not permitted to work while in the United States as a student. And in fact, here, there actually are some job opportunities, especially if it's a job on campus at your university. You may also be able to do kind of a training program after you've completed your studies, and this is called the OPT program. And then if you are a student in the US and you've found a job, you can apply for a work visa in the United States and continue on as an employee of a company in the US. Another myth is that you can only get a visa if you have family in the United States. And that is definitely not true. We may ask you about your relatives in the US during your visa interview, and it's just because we want to understand your family situation and your reasons for applying for a student visa. One other one is that you have to be the best or the brightest student in order to get a visa. And we'll say that visas are not reserved for the very best students. What we really want to see is that you are a serious student, that you're well informed about your university, you're knowledgeable about the subject that you're going to be studying. And again, that you can answer those 4 questions that we talked about earlier. Who are you? What do you want to study? What are you going to gain from this? And what are you going to do after you finish your studies? And then the final one is that consular officers, the visa officer, always wants to hear the right answer or the perfect answer. And that one is also not true. During the interview, we just ask people to give an honest description of their interest in studying in the United States and their personal circumstances. So there are no right or wrong answers. It is really just personal to every student. And then we can move on, please, Marwa. So, again, if you want more information, we please ask you to go to our official websites, the embassy website, or what you see here, which is travel.state.gov, which is the official travel website of the US government as a whole. All the information that you need to obtain a visa is there. You can, of course, ask a university. You can email us at the embassy directly or work with a trusted partner like Education USA. The next slide, please, Marwa. And then this is just some additional contact information. I put our email address for our visa section on there. Just please only email us if you have questions about your visa application. If the question is about finding a university or generally about studying in the United States, that question would be for Amethyst or Education USA. or the university that you're looking at in the United States. But if you have a pending application, if you have questions about your visa process, then you can email us and we'll be happy to answer your questions. I think we can move on to the next slide and open it up if anyone has questions. And I do see a few coming in through the chat bar. So the first one from Isam is, how long can I stay in the United States after I finish my studies? And I think I answered this one, but again, generally it's 30 days. After your program ends, you have 30 days where you can travel, visit friends before you need to leave the United States. And when you're in the US, you can seek an extension, you can seek a work visa, but for the most part, 30 days is the limit. So if I want to pursue my master's right after I finish my bachelor's, do I need to come back? I think he's saying come back home to Palestine or Jerusalem and apply for a student visa again. So you can actually change your student visa status in the United States directly through the United States Citizenship and Immigration Service. You can seek a new visa, a new legal status. But most people will in fact come back home, go back to their country and apply for a new visa at their local embassy. And the reason for that is, again, usually your program will end in May or June. You'll only have 30 days remaining to stay in the US, and the timing works out that it's just easier to go home and apply for a new visa at the embassy. So a few other questions that people submitted previously. The first is, can I apply for a student visa from another country than mine? Definitely 100%. We regularly see applications from people from African countries, Asian countries at the embassy here in Jerusalem. You can apply at any embassy you want. Just go to that local embassy's website and schedule an appointment and you're able to apply there. There's no need for you to apply in Jerusalem if you are Palestinian. You can apply anywhere you are. So another question, I want to study in a community college to pursue my associate's degree. Will that affect my chances of getting my visa since it is not a bachelor's four-year degree program? I would say definitely not here. We issue visas to people that are pursuing two-year associate's degrees at community colleges all the time. You know, again, what is important is that the visa applicant explain exactly why they want to study in the United States, why they chose that particular program, what they intend to, how that program will help them with their academic or professional goals, and what they intend to do when they finish their studies. The next question, if a certain organization is sponsoring my studies, what kind of document do I need to provide? So here, generally what we see is that the student visa applicant will come with their SEVIS form, that's the Student Exchange Visitor Information Form, and their I-20 form from their university, which will state that they are receiving a scholarship, that they're receiving some tuition assistance. If you're receiving any kind of outside scholarship that is not coming from your university, definitely bring a letter from that organization, a statement from that organization, explaining the funding that you'll be receiving. And the consular officer may ask you some additional questions. So you should be able to explain your relationship with that organization that is sponsoring your studies. The final question we got earlier is, how long can someone stay on administrative processing? So for this one, again, it depends on the situation. Administrative processing is actually quite common. We do our best on our end to speed things up as much as possible, but it does depend on the individual situation. If someone is in administrative processing, you have a question about the status of your application, you can always email us at jerusalemniv@state.gov from the previous slide, and we can provide more information. Okay, so I got a good question here. Someone's asked, because of the COVID-19 situation, can I still apply for a student visa? Definitely, 100%. Because of the pandemic, our visa services have been limited, but student visas are one of our top priorities. So we do have appointments open for student visa applicants. So if you've been accepted to a university, you've received the proper document, which for most people would be the I-20 form, you will be able to make an appointment for your visa interview. If someone is having trouble making an appointment, again, that's a situation where you can contact us and we'll provide you instructions for requesting what we call an expedited appointment or a special appointment. So the next question, does travel history, for example, if you have never traveled outside of your home country, will that affect your chances to get a visa? So I would say again that we look at all of the circumstances. We see plenty of applicants who have never left the West Bank or Gaza, or have only been to Jordan or a few other countries in the region, and they are able to obtain student visas. Again, we just want to see that the student is a serious student, that they have done their research, can explain why they've chosen a particular program, and that it makes sense for them. Again, we do want to see that you have the financial ability to pay for the first year of your program, or that you have a scholarship. But someone who has a limited travel outside of the country, again, that is not a problem, because we look at the entire situation and assess you as an individual. And then someone asked, can you give us some do's and don'ts for the visa interview? So I think I would just repeat what I stated earlier. Just please be honest about your intentions, about the reason that you have chosen the program, and be prepared to explain a little bit about yourself, your background, what you've studied, what you're interested in studying in the future, and what you hope to gain from the program. And again, if you're a serious student, if you're moving on to a 2-year degree or a 4-year degree in the United States, no reason to be nervous about the visa interview process. And then the next group of questions I have here, can we ask questions after the interview? Sure, of course you can. Usually, again, the interview process is pretty simple. If we've approved your visa, we just tell you you'll receive your passport and the visa about 1 week through a WASL, is the courier service, the mail service that we use. If you have other specific questions, you can raise that to our staff at the time of your interview. So how much does the visa cost is the next question. The typical fee is $160 for the visa. It depends whether you're applying for an F visa, a J visa. All of that information actually is on our website. And then the next question asked, if we don't have that much money, can I work for a visa? I think I answered this earlier. You do have to show that you are able to pay for the first year of the program. And again, there are some jobs that international students are eligible for. And those would usually be jobs on campus at the university itself. That's something that I would encourage people to talk directly to the university about, to explore what options there are if they need a part-time job or some additional support. Okay, so the next question, if my family wants to accompany me while I'm studying in the United States, what kind of visa do they need? So we do have visas for the spouses and children of students. That is called an F2 visa or a J2 visa. That is quite common. So generally, we'll see the whole family together. The student will come in and apply for their F1 visa along with their spouse and children. But we also see situations where the student is already in the United States, they've begun their program, and then their family will come in and apply for their visas. But again, only the spouse and children of the student would be able to travel to the United States. And then next question, is the same process applied for elective programs for 2 or 3 months? So this actually it's quite a complicated question. In some circumstances, you may be able to use a tourist visa, a regular B visa, if it's a very short, specific elective program in the United States. On that, I would ask your university to tell you exactly what visa you need. But here there are instances where actually a tourist visa would be appropriate if it's a very short 2 or 3 month process. So I think I went through all of the questions on the chat bar. If anyone else has anything else, if you want to unmute and ask, I'm happy to answer more questions.
Thank you so much, Josh. So I actually received a question from one of the attendees. He wrote it in both Arabic and English, so I'm going to translate it to English. So if I don't know English and I want to go to the United States for an English language program, does that affect my chances of getting the visa since I don't know any English and my purpose is to study the language?
So it's very common that we see applicants that want to study English in the United States. That is perfectly acceptable. You go through the same process that we discussed earlier. You will be accepted into a program at a university. You'll receive that I-20 form. You make an appointment at the embassy like any other student. If you are applying for an English language program, I would suggest that the person be prepared at the interview to explain how that program is going to assist them in their academic or professional goals, what they're going to achieve from it, and what they plan to do at the end of the program. Because it is a little different than a student applying for a 2-year associate's or a 4-year bachelor's or a master's degree. But definitely English language programs is very common. You go through the same student visa application process that we've discussed just now.
Okay, thank you. And we have one more question from Zaina. Can I apply for another visa while I am staying in the United States after the 30 days without getting back to my country?
So again, you do need to depart the United States before you are out of student visa status. So if you've extended over those 30-day limits, you can apply for basically a new student visa to extend your status or to adjust your status through the United States Citizenship and Immigration Service. So that would be a petition directly that you would file, paperwork that you would file in the United States. The more common route that we see is that people will in fact go home, whether it's to the West Bank or Gaza or Jerusalem or wherever they live, to apply for a new visa. But if you want to extend your status to apply for another visa, there is a process you can follow, and it's with the United States Citizenship and Immigration Service. More information on that would be available at uscis.gov.
Okay, thank you, Josh. I just want to translate your answer about the English language programs to Arabic. Josh صار يحكي إنه نفس البروسس بيمشي فيها الطالب تاعت الستودنت فيزا اللي حكى عنها بالأول، والمعلومات هذه كمان رح تقدروا تلاقوها على موقع السفارة الأمريكية بالقدس بالعربي وزي ما حكى بالإنجليزي كمان. وبالنسبة لبرامج اللغة الإنجليزية إشي كتير مهم حكى عنه إنه ضروري الطالب اللي بده يقدم على برنامج يعرف شو الهدف وليش بده يقدم على هذا البرنامج. هل هو هدف شخصي؟ هل هو هدف أكاديمي؟ هل لأسباب مهنية؟ وكمان بده يكون عارف إيش بده ينجز من هذا البرنامج وإيش الهدف تاعه بعد ما يخلص الإنجليش لانجويج بروجرام تاعه. Thank you, Josh. And I think we have one more question. If I have relatives abroad, can they help me to get a visa? Will this be less difficult?
Here, I would say that the answer is no. Your relatives abroad can certainly help you pay for the program. If your relatives are going to help you with the tuition, that's great. So you can certainly show some document from your family abroad that they have the income and that they're going to support you in your studies. If you're asking if your relative abroad, whether it's in the United States or elsewhere, can directly impact the visa process or help you in the visa application process, the answer to that is definitely no. Again, it's on the individual student when they come in for their interview to explain why they've selected the particular program, to show us that they're a serious student and that they've really thought about the university and the program that they have selected. So outside of help with your tuition, I don't think that your family abroad is really going to help you.
Okay, thank you so much, Josh. We have answered all questions from the attendees. And thank you so much for sharing all of the information about the student visa process. So we have a couple of sessions coming up. So we have 2 sessions on Sunday, November 22nd, if you would like to join us. The first session is going to be about the Access and Yes programs. These are programs funded by the U.S. Department of State for high school students. The Access Alumni Coordinator, along with the Yes Alumni Coordinator, they will be sharing information about these 2 programs and the things that they have done through this program and how the program benefited them in general. We have a second session on the same day, November 22nd, with 4 Palestinian students who are currently studying at different U.S. universities and colleges, and they will be sharing their experiences and about the things that they are currently doing at their respective institutions. And also they will briefly be speaking about their experience applying to U.S. universities and colleges. Also, we have another session on November 25th with the U.S. University representative, Hanan Abed. She works with New York University in Abu Dhabi, and so she will be talking about the holistic admissions process, and she will be sharing also information about New York University and specifically NYU Abu Dhabi. So make sure that you tune in for these sessions if you are interested to learn more about these exchange programs and studying in the US. Also, we have an upcoming regional event. We will have an Education USA virtual fair for the MENA region, for the Middle East and North Africa. We will have 2 days, December 9th for undergraduate programs, and December 10th will be for graduate programs. As you can see, the fair will run for 4 hours from 5 p.m. until 9 p.m. And we will share the registration links very soon on our social media platforms. You can follow us on different social media platforms. As you can see, for Education USA West Bank, you can follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube. And you can also contact us via our email, ramallah@educationusa.org. As for Gaza, you can also follow them on Facebook at Education USA Gaza, or you can contact them via email at gaza@educationusa.org. Also, if you have any questions about studying in the US, you can always contact us for the registration links for the sessions that I have mentioned. Please make sure you go to our social media Facebook pages, and you will find the events on our pages. Sana, would you like to add anything before we end the session?
Thank you so much, Marwa, and a special thank you to Josh, and thank you everyone for joining our session today. And we hope you have a safe and enjoyable weekend. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you, everyone. Bye.